Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another wrestling podcast. But before we get into that, I'm going to do my normal spiel that I do every single episode. Is don't forget down below in the description is all the links to all of our social media pages. So please go and give us a follow on there. As well, we always live tweet, either not live tweet, but we normally tweet the day after about Raw or in the morning where we get a chance to watch it. SmackDown, NXT UK. I can catch up on that now as well. And the pay per views, me and Mr. G last night set up and watched Survivor Series. I think the first time I've proper watched a pay per view live the whole way through in a very long time. I have two kids, so I'm normally asleep by about 11. But I'm suffering today thanks to you lot. But we stayed up, we watched it, we had quite good banter as well, but we would like you guys to get involved as well and help us and come along with us as well. Don't forget that we always put stuff on Instagram, we always do stuff on Facebook, always do stuff on Twitter. We're using Fleet as well now on Twitter, which I'm really enjoying. Instagram Live, I love we do that after every Reading game. We have a little interaction with fans as well that come aboard. We bring you on and have a little chat about the game and what's going on. But we will be doing more stuff with Instagram Live as well to do with wrestling, NFL, Formula One moving forward. But don't forget as well, what I want to do is just before we get on is a massive thank you to everyone that watching or listening at home. Last week was the first time in the sports show's history since we very first started doing this. I think in July. I can't remember when we started doing this. I'll have a look. Was the first? Was it June, July? I started doing this. I can't bloody remember.
I thought you were talking about us two.
No, not us two, but I'm gonna have to find out now. It was the first time. Keep going. Here we go. 4 months ago. So the first episode was the 7th. So since July was the first time we did 5 days. We did Reading, wrestling, Formula One, NFL, and Reading. And I want to say the amount of views and listens in total, in general as well, was amazing. I got more views last week than I've ever got before in certain videos as well. And that's all thanks to everyone that's watching and listening. We know that there's a lot of Reading FC not Reading FC. There's a lot of wrestling content out there, I know. But we're going to do things a little bit differently. We might copy some people because they have excellent ideas and we want to try and do the same thing. But as we are going to be like the Vince McMahon.
What, steal people's talents, are we?
That. But what we're going to do is let everyone do it first and then copy it and make it better.
And take it global and make millions. Yeah?
And we're going to go worldwide. But if you guys do want to come aboard and come on and talk to us about what you think about wrestling, drop me a DM. I'm happy enough to give a chat with you and bring you on as well. We want more people to come on, more wrestling fans. We just don't want us to. We've got another person who will be joining us at some point in the near future, but it's going to be us two. But if you guys want to come on as well, let us know. Right. Let's get into Survivor Series. I need to grab my pad that I had, that I wrote down what we predicted the results to be. If you haven't gone and checked Instagram or Twitter already and Facebook, I posted the results last night of who won and who. Where the fuck have I put it? Oh, I bet you my partner's hid it. Yeah, she's hid my belt. I'm gonna fight her.
It's all right, man. We already know who won anyway.
Yeah,
so
I'm calling bullshit already. But we're going to go through the matches, and then we're going to pick and just sort of give a little what we think about it, what we thought was good, what we thought was bad, and then we'll go from there. Right, the first match of the night was Team Raw versus Team SmackDown.
Are you talking about? Oh yeah. So if we can mention Battle Royal,
we're going to go with the very first match of the night: Team Raw men's versus Team Women. What did you think of that match?
So the the guys match. Well, when I watched it, when I was getting into it, I was just like, it's a good match. I'm trying to think. Obviously, I was hyped up for Raw winning anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me, it just Like I could see Raw winning the minute they started the minute we saw Seth get eliminated so
Yeah,
easily.
as soon as Seth got on his knees and did it, I went, I've lost. I instantly in my brain went, SmackDown are not winning this now.
It just looked like something. There's no reason for them to have Seth just do it like that, unless they're going to have SmackDown, not go over, because that's the only way it would make sense.
Well, Seth's off TV now, isn't he?
Well, that's what people are saying. He might still show up on SmackDown, and then they'll, have a word with him or two.
I think they're letting him go now because they don't want to start. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is they don't want to start a storyline or anything. That's why the Buddy Murphy Seth Rollins match happened on SmackDown, was because they want to get Murphy over now so that Seth can go off to Survivor Series, do what and then he can go off and be with Becky.
I can still see somebody addressing it at some point just to clarify what happened and be like he's off for a bit. I reckon that'll be Roman calling it because they're best friends and everything.
I don't think they will. I think he'll just disappear.
It's possible. We'll keep an eye for that.
I think it would be interesting. I think that's a good point, though, because if we think about it, it's one of those situations, because if you look at it as well, Dean Ambrose is now, and Renee Young are now expecting, which congratulations to them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2, and you can see the bags under my eyes already. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how if Seth's going to disappear. And also now, what are they going to do with Team Raw? Who's going to go on now? Because we've got TLC coming up next month, 6th of December, I think I saw it was, 6th or 7th of December. But how are they going to do that? Because they all went over clean. Keith Lee got the final pin.
I think...
I'll tell you what strength to catch Uso when he was doing a diving splash.
Mate, I'm just thinking to myself, Keith Lee. I think the main focus was going to be Keith Lee anyway. So I think they'll still keep they'll carry on with Keith Lee. Have Matt Riddle as a secondary guy. And just carry on that way.
Riddle's going to get over though, because of all the stuff that's happened out of the ring.
Mate,
because let's be honest, him and his wife are not helping the situation of him getting anywhere at the moment.
I've said this. This is what makes me laugh about the whole situation. This time last year, you remember that? This time last year, we had Matt Riddle trashing Jericho, Lance Storm, Booker, well, not quite Booker T, but he always as well, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. And guess what the IWC were doing? They were cheering him for it. Oh yeah, he's doing the right thing. He's standing up for himself, and those are all timers, blah, 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 and all that. And now here we are a year later, and now we're hearing, "Oh, get him off my TV. He's disrespectful. Oh, he's this and that. Oh, but you know what I mean?" And it just makes me laugh how people change after you were literally just kissing his ass not long ago.
I like Matt Riddle, and I think he's excellent.
I liked him before. I was saying, he's a excuse me. He's on a list of guys whom I was saying they should have signed along. Whom I was words out. He was on a list of He was on the list of guys who I was expecting to sign at some point. Him alongside the likes of Ricochet, Austin Theory.
I really like Austin Theory.
I like him too.
I really like Austin Theory. He reminds me of a young version of. He's like a cross between a Randy Orton. He reminds me of someone else as well, but I can't point my finger at him. But he reminds me of a very young Randy Orton with his charisma, with the way that he does things as well.
No. Like I said, I'll tell you a little story. I remember I saw him on my Instagram. Not on my Instagram, but he came on my Instagram feed thing, whatever you call it. And this was literally just a year before I saw him get his first tryout, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this guy will be getting signed at some point. Just watch. He didn't get signed then. He didn't get signed till like a year later.
Did you watch the Evolve?
I never watched him in Evolve, but I know that he was on Evolve for a bit.
Yeah, he was. I watched the match. I think Evolve. They did a Evolve special on the WWE Network. And it was Austin Theory versus, I can't think of the name. I can't remember who it was, but it was champion versus champion, and he was going in there as the No, it wasn't. No. It was a big bloke. It wasn't a small bloke. It was a big bloke.
Okay.
And he was champion versus champion. And I never watched Evolve before. I wanted to go and watch it, have a good, see what it was like because I had all majority of NXT go through Evolve, so I wanted to see what. And there, Paul Heyman was there, and he introduced.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this now.
And I've seen a lot of wrestling, and I do like to think that I have a little bit of knowledge of wrestling. But at the end of a match, when a heel gets booed for winning, you know you've done your job right. And he got hated. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, he deserves to win," but it's like, you know, where everyone goes, "Oh yeah, he did it," and then you go, "Oh no, fuck you, you're a dickhead," like that. Within like means that was the reaction, and I went, "Okay, he's got something. He has got something here."
No, like I said, I knew he was going to be a star from day one. It's a damn shame he hit a few curbs along the way now, with the whole, getting his name called out during that, and etc. But I still think he's gonna, at the end of the day, he was found. He looks like he's been found innocent, and
that's all. So okay, then. So I've got a question for you. Team Raw as well. We'll talk about them, and we'll talk about them.
Go for it.
Out of all of the 5 men that got it, who's going to get the biggest push?
Keith Lee.
Okay. SmackDown. Do you not think that, for me personally, I think they booked SmackDown correctly the way they lost? Because if you look at it, it was... the only reason I say that is Otis was a beast, and he looks like a beast, and he worked like a beast during that match as well.
I don't know. I mean, I think that in some part of me would have loved to see SmackDown do a bit more.
Oh, I would love SmackDown to have won because I got them to win it.
Suppose so. I mean, I'm happy with it, but at the same time, I do feel a bit like they could have done a bit more with SmackDown, I guess, to some extent. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't think that
I get you. I get that.
You have to look at the guy who they're super hired right now, which is Keith Lee. If they had missed it with him, it wouldn't have carried on. If they're focusing on Keith Lee, I don't want to say the words which everyone keeps. They have to make him look strong.
Yeah.
All right. That's where.
They definitely did do that.
So I think that the way it was done was fine. I know I saw one guy who's a proper AEW mark. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but he was just like, "Oh, this is so shit," and this and that, and I'm just like, I mean, it's just, it doesn't appeal to everyone. I'll say that right now, but it's only because the same people who say that just always demand more from it.
So,
that's all it is.
For me, I think it was the perfect booking in a certain extent because now you have 5 credible people that can go after Drew McIntyre or go after Bobby Lashley. So for me, I think you now built that brand up to be stronger. But it's all to do with now what they're going to do pushing forward. Are they now going to do Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley for the US title, which could be interesting? Or are they going to propel Keith Lee to whoever does, because there's going to be another Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre match because Randy Orton now has a contract clause because he lost it again. So there is going to be one more. Is it going to be whoever wins that goes up against Keith Lee or Braun Strowman or whatever? Or are they going to build this into a tag team with some of them to go on against New Day, or is there going to be a mini feud between them all? And I think they've done this, and they've done it correctly, I think, the way they did it over, because I think the way SmackDown lost with Jey Uso getting the final loss has done perfectly for Roman Reigns' character. And I'm going to talk about him in a bit later on, because I can't get enough of how good of a talker Roman Reigns has become. And that's one of the things I'm very impressed with. Right, let's move on. I think the second match of the night was Sami Zayn versus the big old Bobby Lashley. You went for Bobby Lashley. So at this precise moment, everyone, Mr. G is 1-0 up. You'll see how this goes. I get quite angry on Twitter halfway through. And it was Sami Zayn versus Bobby Lashley. What did you think of that?
Like I said, I mean, I didn't have high expectations with that match. But that said, I figured that they would deliver to some extent. And I think that it made Sami look somewhat Sammy had a few moments that made him look good enough, but at the same time, it was obviously going to be Lashley going over one way or another, and they were going to have the Hurt Business interfere in some way. But yeah, I suppose it was Sammy didn't quite lose clean, if that makes sense. So he still.
This is what I said. This is what I said to you before we started recording, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
it protects Sami Zayn's character, and it also protects Bobby Lashley's character, because Bobby Lashley looked like an absolute beast. And not
like
only,
I said, like I said as well, I still think that it would have been better if Sammy had Shinsuke and Cesaro with him in that, so he could have evened the odds a little bit. But it is what it is, I can't really.
I agree. I think it would have been, but I think at the same time, it wouldn't have propelled, I think, now Sami Zayn's character to get even more annoying, because he now has an excuse of, I was on my own against 3 other people with MVP interfering.
Yeah, I was actually expecting Retribution to interfere at some point.
Yeah, I'm a bit with them.
I felt that could have been a good moment to get him involved with Retribution a little bit, so that way they could have.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, it was a good. It was a passable match. It didn't bother me as much.
No, it was one of those good matches that I really enjoyed. I
remember I saw one guy. I remember I saw one guy say the same in the same AEW guy saying, "Oh, I can't wait for Sammy to join AEW." I'm like, keep dreaming, mate. That ain't happening.
He's Intercontinental Champion. He's got Kevin Owens who's there as well. Anyway,
what do you like? The way I see it, he's held 2 Intercontinental titles, in one night. He's had some crazy matches this year. He's obviously viewed to some extent with some respect. Obviously they're not giving him the big push just yet. It doesn't mean they don't have plans for him. That's the way I see it.
I completely agree. Let's move on now to the Street Profits versus the New Day. I think, other than Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre,
this was definitely up there, mate. This was
the most hype match I was really excited for, and it delivered.
Should I start? Do you want to start? Should I start this, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, you go,
mate. I can only say one thing, and that is you take 2 teams that have been built up so well over the past, God, how many years now? Like, we've had the New Day built up for the past 5 years. It's one of the best tag teams in a long, or actually, should I say, stables in a long time. Taking on another organically built team in the Street Profits, they've been going strong and being built up for the past 2-3 years. Since I still remember when they debuted on NXT, and to watch them, have that match the way it has, the way that build up has gone. If you know the history, you can tell alone that these two just have that instant connection. You know what I mean?
So the New Day very first begun in 2014. So they've been around for
late
6 years. It was July 21st, 2014 is when they first debuted.
It was late.
As the New Day.
It was late 2014, but I remember it was a shit start, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a choir, wasn't it, if I remember?
Something like that.
Choir and singing.
It was awkward, let's put it that way, for a bit. In Street Profits, I still remember when Angelo Dawkins was a enhancement talent for years. I remember seeing him, putting over guys like Shinsuke. Oh man, I can't remember that one. I'm thinking way back now, but yeah, I remember Shinsuke was definitely somebody he put over. To see him in the spot where he's at today, mate, it's very impressive.
Yeah, and I said this to you, and I think the way
he could have easily been like those guys who we see on the internet or on a certain other TV show, always crying about, oh, they never gave me a chance, and this and that. But instead he stuck by his guns, and he's made it.
I think if we look at the match and the way that they did the match and the storytelling in the match was very clever, because they kept Montez Ford in, aimed for his ribs and his stomach, because when he does his 5-star frog splash, or the Montez Ford splash, because that is not even a star splash, that is so fucking high he flies, it's ridiculous.
Let me say, I'm bored of frog splashes, and every time I see someone else do it. But when I see him do it, mate, I'm like, that is how you make a frog splash look unique.
Yeah.
Because everyone else does the same thing. That's what I got lost in. Sorry. That's what made me lose interest in some guys, using that as a move. I'm just like, why do you keep doing that? It's like I've seen it over and over again. I didn't like seeing Leo Rush do it all the time. I didn't like seeing I don't have a problem with KO doing it because I know he makes him look impressive in the ring, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it became overused for some people. So when I saw a guy like Montez Ford do it, though, he's probably like the first guy that's made me turn around and say, "That's how you make it stand out."
Yeah. And that was the one thing I thought was very clever, was they aimed for his stomach, aimed for his ribs. So when he did go for that, he would be in so much pain to try and cover that there would be enough time. And they did. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
He went for the splash and then went for the cover and he couldn't pin. Where he struggled to try and do it because of the amount of pain he was in. And I want to say as well, Angelo Dawkins as well, he's got a very bright future as well. I think they both do. Because I think
they both do as well, 100%.
I think everyone concentrates on Montez Ford, that his aerial ability and his skill, but Angelo Dawkins really showed that he can be innovative as well, and that's one of the things I'm very happy. And it was a good finish. They went over clean as well. The Street Profits, you went for them. So at this point in the night, you were 3-0 up, and I was getting angry.
Yep.
Let's talk about Asuka versus Sasha Banks.
You know how I feel about this one. I was also rooting for Asuka in this, but I'll give the devil his due. Yeah,
I have to say, I'm not a massive. Everyone knows I'm not a massive Sasha Banks fan, but I respect it.
Yeah,
I'm one of those where I don't, but I respect it in the ring because her work is brilliant. She is one of the best.
If you had asked me 3-4 years ago if I like Sasha, I'd have said yeah, she's great. But it's just I lost so much interest with her character the minute they kept doing this and that. And I'm just like, I really can't. You know what I mean? I've seen this all before. I really don't care. Even as a heel, she didn't do it for me. So
in NXT, she did. She was vile in NXT.
The thing is, that NXT was a different time as well. You can't just keep going back. Oh, she was great here because you're saying, oh, she was better back then. What happened to now? That's the way I'm saying it.
No, I agree with you, but I have to say that was the best technical women's match that we've seen for a very long time.
As I said, I think that they both went over. I think they both did a good match. I didn't. A part of me had a feeling that Sasha had to go over because she's already lost 100 times to her anyway.
Yeah.
And the way
I think it was 2-2 in all.
Something something like that. But what I mean is that it was the right time for her to at least get one victory over her. Not necessarily the best victory, but a victory enough for her to say, "I've got a pin over her." So I can have some bragging rights. So yeah, I think that's fine as well.
I think it also builds more of Sasha's character now. As well, maybe because it wasn't a title defense, but at the same time, it was a pay-per-view after she's won a title.
And I still see her as I only see her as a title holder right now. Anyway, I can definitely see her dropping it at some point, and I know exactly I want to see it drop it to.
I think I know who I want her to drop it to.
Yeah,
but
Carmella. I'm joking. I mean, Bianca.
Yeah, that's who I want her to drop it to. That'd be it.
And I wouldn't mind seeing Carmella winning as well. To be fair, I think she's having a good build-up as well.
She's definitely the only thing that annoys me with Carmella is it's nothing about her in-ring. It's her hair. It looks so fake.
Really?
It's her hair is. It's just like the blonde version of Sasha Banks's hair. It's like, can no one else come up with any different type of hair?
Seriously, you want to shave it off?
Look, Ruby Riott did. She looks good. Right. Talking of Ruby Riott, let's move on to So at this point, we both said that Asuka was going to win. This was my chance to even have a chance of coming back into it if I got it right, but I didn't. So at this point now, it was declared that Mr. G had won overall, and it was still 3-0. Let's move into the women's Survivor Series match. Raw versus SmackDown.
Well,
I get the ending, right? I thought they built Bianca Belair really well during this match. I also think that they did. Hold on. So I think that they built Bianca very well, Liv Morgan very well, and I think they also built Peyton Royce very well. because Peyton Royce cleanly pinned Bailey in the middle of the ring, which for me now gives her more credibility moving
That's
forward.
my point as well.
Lacey Evans, I think, cleanly beat Natalia, but Lacey Evans for me is growing, and she needs a few good feuds for her to grow as a character. I think, for her to go moving forward. But Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, people don't like them, and they are playing that so well.
Yep, they're milking it.
So Lana as well. Lana come in the ring, and for me, I thought she looked really good when she got in the ring the first time. I was like, okay, she's going, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that she could have had a bit more of a show than that at Natalia, but I think I think a lot of it was cut down as well to some extent. Take the focus off her, which I think is a downside as well, because I know that she can work. Because nobody would be super hard at work with someone unless they want comfortable working with them. And I think that if she had a bit more time with Natalia, she could have shown that she can deliver to some extent. What she can do.
And I think the ending proved how the company are trying to, and I think this pay-per-view was very much protecting people's character but building
100%.
it. And I think they did it correctly. I'm not saying it was the best pay-per-view for winnings or anything like that. What I'm saying is for character building moving forward, if they get good creative doing well, which we know from WWE that they do very well and then just flop really quickly, they protected Shayna by making her get disqualified for choking out, was it Ruby Riott?
I actually thought for a second they were going to have Bianca go over Shayna for a minute because it looked like she was. Because if you remember, they had a good match in NXT.
Yeah.
I was like, this might be her moment to at least get some revenge. But I suppose it's better for her to go out like that, so that way Shayna doesn't quite get a loss, and it gives Bianca something to hold up about. Oh, you never beat me, and I never tapped out. I just kind of thing.
And
so I think that's fine.
It also says as well that it's also good for Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott because they're now credible challengers for Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for whenever they defend their women's tag titles. So
I feel like them two are so overdue for a tag team run. It is so sad, to be honest with you, but I hope they do get a run at some point.
And I hope Sarah Logan was watching as well, because that was very much, she's very much involved in everything. So for me, I think the ending was the perfect way to do it, with Lana not doing anything to a certain extent, because she can now become annoying to Nia and Shayna, saying, well, I outlasted you. What have you lot done? Which I think now builds on her character. I think it also protects Bianca's character because she showed the power she has by launching Nia Jax as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Barricade.
I thought she was going to go over Nia as well at one point. So I was like, they're going to make her a sole survivor, but obviously didn't quite come down.
And it also protects Nia Jax as well because she never got pinned or submitted.
Yeah.
None of the women's champions got the women tag champions. Never got pinned or submitted. They got disqualified or counted out.
And she didn't botch anyone.
Nope.
Even better. Must be a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. And she didn't tweet some stupid crap about the vaccine either. But some people just shouldn't have social media.
My dad's one of them.
I'm probably one of them as well. So it's one of those things that I think they did it right. I think Lana winning builds her moving forward.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing we never mentioned was that Keith Lee's new music.
Oh, I love it.
That caught me off guard as well, to be fair.
100%.
It's better than whatever that crap was they gave him when he debuted, but it
was his normal intro with something else, and that something else did not go with the intro. But now the intro, it just all goes together. It's got his voice again, singing his thing, and I'm like,
I was the thing is, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, Robbos definitely getting his new theme song tonight." And then when that didn't happen, I was like, "Oh, I have to wait even longer."
I don't think he will.
I reckon he will. I don't think he would have said it if he would have. I don't think he would have said anything about a new theme song if he didn't mean anything. So I reckon he will.
Has he said something about a new theme song then?
He said it. He said he's going to do it.
Oh, that's right. I hope it's something to do with the tribal chief or something.
Same here.
Mixing
we'll
with
have to wait and see still, but I reckon he will deliver it because it would fit. One thing which came to my mind not long ago was I think that he should even drop the Roman Reigns name.
Or what, and go to his real name?
Not necessarily. I don't know how familiar you are with him, but before he came to the main roster, when he was in FCW, he went by the name of Leaki, which sounds very Samoan tribal, if you will. Part of me just thinking that maybe he should go back to that name or something derived from that. You know
I
don't
think he can. I think it's one of those now. It's like when you're put in a position he's always going to be known as Roman Reigns.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. What I'm saying was that I think they could still do that, because the name Roman Reigns doesn't even sound Samoan, And you try to tell me he's a tribal chief now. I think that in some cases he could change the name.
He's only
But
35.
that's just me. That's what I would do.
I didn't know this. He was only 35.
Yeah, he's only 35. Him and you'll be surprised. Him, Ambrose, Rollins is just a year younger. Ciampa, Gargano,
Ambrose is 34.
They're all relatively the same age. They're all relatively in the same. Even Aleister Black, they're all practically the same age. 35, 34.
Tommaso.
Yeah, he's only 35 as well.
Jesus, that's a big future now for WWE, knowing that they're only 35.
But the thing is, though, is that even then, they're like that 35 means they've only got 5 years till they hit 40. So that means they'll most likely start to see what they can do within the next 5 years or so. So it's one of those sort of things. And don't forget, a lot of them have been wrestling even before they came WWE as well. So it's one of those things where they don't even know if 100% in their head. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. Move on to Randy. Oh, I put Randy/Drew because that's when we did it. So it was Drew versus Roman.
Mate, I don't ever I usually tended to skip, the what do you call it, the promo package build-ups and kind of thing.
I always watch them because WWE do so well with them.
No, not always, but it's only because sometimes I'm not. I just want to get to the match. But this was what I've never skipped when it comes to Roman's matches, whether it was him versus Jay, blah blah blah, etc. And when I saw that build-up, I was like, mate, the feel's right there.
Yeah. And I think that it was very much a slow, methodical grapple wrestling to start off with.
It is how it should be because the trouble with fans nowadays is they expect everything to be super fast paced from the get go. You have to understand when it's two big guys like that, they have to start, reasonably, realistically, they have to build it up to build up the pace that way. Not everyone can do it the Keith Lee Dijak way. Yeah.
No.
Not everyone can do it the freaking Ricochet, the Ricochet Will Ospreay way. Not everyone can do it. You know what I'm saying? They have to do it their way.
No one can do it like Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, because that's ridiculous as well.
That's another one as well. But my point is that they have, people are all different and they have to work their way. And my point is that they save it. There's nothing wrong with saving. I don't want to say it, but there's nothing wrong with saving your good shit. But as I was saying, so they start off the way they should do. Hold this, hold that. Drew, Roman throwing in some punches, and then Roman going. Roman, Drew hitting him with the big chop.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where shit's going to go down, and it started picking up after that.
And I think they built the ending very well as well with the way that when Roman went for a spear and Drew
that reversal, boy,
and I was like,
that was a thing of beauty,
and it was so smooth as well. How Roman went for a spear, but then they rolled through into the Kimura and locked in. And do you know what? The first thing that got me in my brain when I saw the Kimura, I was like, he's right next to Paul Heyman. That's a shout out to Brock.
Yeah, I actually want to see Roman do a Kimura lock instead as well, but considering it's a Paul Heyman guy.
I also prefer his new submission, the guillotine.
Actually, wait, there is one thing I've always wanted to say. I always thought Roman would be the perfect guy to do a Suplex City kind of thing. That would have got him over.
I get that, but I think if he started doing that now, it'd just be he's with Paul Heyman.
I mean, years ago. I'm talking before Brock.
Yeah, I can see that. Or the release, or what Kurt Angle used to do, just throw him.
just keep doing that sort of shit because it suits his character still,
Yeah.
and it shows his strength. And I mean, I always thought that could have been perfect for Roman, but it is what it is. But yeah, to me, I think that would have been the perfect thing for him. Not long if they had done it right with him.
But I think the way that they did the ending with the Samoan drop twice into the
Yeah.
table, and then Drew gets up, a spear through the barricade, straight into the ring.
That was. I would love to see them just take out those screens. Those
that could be painful.
I'd love to see them do that.
But yeah, no. And then straight into there, they go into the ring, and then Drew hits the Claymore, which then knocks the ref out, which then Jay runs down.
Yeah, I actually thought Jay was going to cause Roman the match for a second.
When he was running down, I went, oh.
I thought Jay was going to cause Roman a match, but I thought it was going to be an accident. He was going to try and help out Roman, but instead he gets Roman with a super kick, and then he's like, "Oh shit, what did I just do?" and this and that. And Roman's just looking at I mean, Drew's just looking at him of the ultimate haha, and kicks him in the face and gets him out of the ring, and then out of nowhere the referee gets back in the ring and the usual shit. But I thought that would have been the finish. But the thing which I liked was when Roman was getting super pumped up and shit. And he goes to the turnbuckle and he was looking at Samoa Joe. Apparently, he goes, what did he say again? It was
he goes, "You'll know how Joe. You know how this feels, bitch."
No, I think he said something like, "You know how this shit goes" or something. Yeah. I was like, wow. And then basically, then he went for the ooh-ah, and then went for the spear, and then wasn't it the spear? Wasn't it?
No, he went for it, but Drew blocked it, kicked him in the air, and kicked him in the face.
But I feel like to summarize it, everyone involved in that, delivered.
I really did think that the way that match was going and the ending with him choking Drew out and Drew never tapped, so that also protects him. He passed out.
It protects him. It protects him 100%, and it's the smart way to do so to keep both their booking good.
Yeah, and I really did think that the way that they finished that match was Miz cashing, because it was also 10 years to the day when the Miz cashed in on Randy Orton.
I was hoping that to happen as well. I was actually hoping that.
You saw my tweet, didn't you? When I went, "Oh, they're building for a Miz cash-in."
Did you see my tweet? I tweeted.
No, I didn't see your one.
I said that my scenario is that Drew goes over, Roman embraces him and shows him respect, and then out of nowhere starts beating the crap out of him, and then he basically starts, running his mouth at him and like, oh, blah blah blah, this and that, and he's like, "You're just a secondary champion, and you don't deserve to even hold this title." And he points to the entrance. Out comes the Miz, cashes in the briefcase, gets the big win. They both shake hands. Roman raises his hand, and then they carry on that way. I thought that would have been even great.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But they've gone that way they wanted to. So
I think TLC's coming up, so that I think that might be the perfect opportunity with how extreme that can get to maybe cash in. But you never know. Right, that's the main event. I think the main of what happened at the end was the Undertaker bidding farewell to the Taker, not bidding farewell to Mark Galloway. But bidding farewell to the Undertaker. I still, it cracks me up because I watched it a little bit again this morning because I was half comatose of sleep when I watched it properly, but I watched it again this morning. And the thing that makes me laugh the most is everyone comes down in like a suit or a shirt or anything. Kane comes down in a full-on elbow pads, everything. I went, oh, that's just perfect. That was perfect for me.
I wasn't expecting Taker to come out with the bike, to be honest, but I feel like that moment could have been better. But I think to be honest with you, I wasn't too keen with how it ended with just Taker, doing just one or two lines, to be honest. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think he will still show up a few appearances here and there when necessary, just to help build up a few things.
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, I was watching it, and I think with you saying about the one or two lines, if we ever think about Undertaker's career as the Undertaker, not as the American Badass, but the Undertaker from when he was with the character that he come out with was he only really said a few lines. He never really did a big spiel unless he was the
Yeah,
American
I
badass.
know, I agree with that
And the
too.
thing
Yeah.
that got me and made it very emotional for me was when he turned around and said that it can now I can rest in peace. And he said about the character now resting in peace, and I went, okay, now this is the perfect way to say goodbye to that character.
I remember there's a famous I think it was when he faced Yokozuna in the casket match.
Yeah.
Might have been Yokozuna. I don't think it was Yokozuna. It was can't remember who it was now. But anyways, he lost the match, and he ended up in the casket. And then all of a sudden, we see him on the screen, and he basically dropped the famous lines, "I will not rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I will never rest in peace." And I was just like, it's crazy when you think about it, how he was able to keep that line going for some time.
I think it was the perfect way. And do you know what? The ending with the hologram of Paul Bearer, the guy that symbolized Undertaker and Kane for
100%.
majority of their career. And if it wasn't for Paul Bearer, I don't think we would be either terrified, scared, or know how dangerous the Undertaker would have been if it wasn't for him. He helped build.
There's so many people that are the reason why there is ever an Undertaker. It was Paul Bearer, it was Bruce Pritchard, and it most definitely was 100% the obviously. Okay, let me start again. So obviously the Undertaker himself, Mark Calloway, Paul Bearer, Bruce Pritchard,
Mm-hmm.
but most importantly, I guess Paul Heyman as well, because he's the reason why Undertaker even got into WWE. But most importantly, you have to if there ever was an Undertaker character, it was because there was a guy who wanted that character, and that's Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
He needs that credit for that at least as much.
And you could tell, and I said this to you earlier, when he come out and he was introducing, I think, one of his best friends, and The Undertaker, them two are so close to each other, and you could tell how emotional Vince was when he was introducing, but not only that, how old he looked, but
Yeah, sad. It really is sad.
And the way that Vince introduced, and I saw this as well, apparently, according to some people, it's the first time Vince McMahon's ever said WWF since it changed from WWF to WWE in 18 years. So, and for him to mention that, and also I think the respect, and I think the Undertaker, when he was American Badass, how much respect Vince has for Undertaker goes back to the point of when he turned it and he did a promo, and he says, and I can remember it now, was I've stayed here and stuck here and not any other show, and I have been here and I have fought all the way through with everyone. And do you know what? You never heard about Undertaker walking out on a show like Stone Cold. You never saw the Undertaker go into the movies like The Rock. You never saw him becoming a mega child. Every child wanted to be him, like John Cena. He was his own character that either built people, made them, or helped him to be, I reckon, the greatest character and wrestler. He could be up there with wrestler because he was an excellent worker as well. One of the best characters ever.
I'll tell you something. For me, any new guy that's ever come into the WWE, to me, they always made themselves the minute they either had that interaction or that's that one match with Undertaker.
To me, I think what really tipped certain matches is being like Batista at WrestleMania, Edge.
That match is so, their feud is so underrated. It's crazy.
I really loved that feud. That really made me want to tune into SmackDown. I remember it.
I'll say I never thought Batista was the one to beat Undertaker. I always thought, I remember the year after when he fought Edge. I thought Edge had a better chance of being Undertaker because at that time he was the ultimate opportunist, and they'd really built him up as the ultimate cheater kind of thing.
And you know, and you know what? I think I I heard as well, or I saw somewhere that during the Kane and Undertaker, the Brothers of Destruction thing, talking about the loss of the streak, a lot of people said they should have kept it, but the Undertaker has said if there was one person that should have beaten him, for the first time to beat the streak.
Everyone keeps saying that, but in all honesty,
I think the streak should have been broken because it was more shock value. For me, I think it was correct decision, but I think as well, the person that should have broken the streak should have been Roman Reigns.
I think Roman should have been as well. But the thing is, like, you have to look at the situation as well. Brock at that time, as well, was a believable. Was at that time.
And he said that, didn't he? Did you watch the Stone Cold podcast with Brock Lesnar?
I haven't seen that yet. I'm going to watch that one now. Wait, sorry, who are you talking about again?
Brock Lesnar, when he was on the Stone Cold. When he said, if you looked at all the people on the roster or anyone, who was the only one that's believable? And he said this, Brock did. He goes, who is the only person believable of beating The Undertaker? He goes, I am. I am the only one believable of beating The Undertaker. And you know what? If you look at it, Roman Reigns was believable when he beat him. But I think Brock Lesnar should have been, but if there was someone, if you look through all the time frames that could have beaten him, I think it should have been Roman.
Like I said, I think Roman. The thing is, Brock was believable, but at the same time, the trouble with Brock was that he was not a young and upcomer. He was pretty much an established veteran kind of thing.
Okay, I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot.
But we
haven't done this before, so we all agree. I think we all can agree that the Undertaker Shawn Michaels matches are the greatest matches.
Definitely.
For a very long time.
Definitely.
If you could take, instead of those two matches, what is the greatest Undertaker match?
The greatest Undertaker match. I'm trying to think myself now. Honestly speaking, to me, I'd always pick Shawn Michaels, to be honest with you. That's the only one I can ever think of, because to me, you can never outdo anyone that works with him.
You can't pick Shawn Michaels because everyone agrees on that. If you had to pick another match.
I mean, I'd say CM Punk as well, but
for me, as a storyline goes and the way it all went, for me was Edge.
But yeah, that's the thing I said as well. Edge himself, to me, would have been the most. To me, was the other guy I thought that could have actually broken the streak and had the ultimate bragging rights, and really, it would have brought him so much heat for years.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Excuse me. But yeah, to me, honestly, the only thing I can ever think of is Shawn Michaels, because to me, Shawn is the only guy at that time was the one guy who could always give you the best match.
And I think everyone can agree that Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler.
It really irks me so much that we were this close to getting Shawn versus AJ a few times.
It's really annoying, but it's also good as well that we never had it as well, because we could always it's one of those debates that everyone can have that you can never know the answer to.
And also, I would love to have seen Shawn versus Dolph Ziggler at one point. I think.
And another match I would love to have seen is Undertaker versus Sting. That would have been
I can say many
stunning
things. I want to see that much. It pisses me off that we could have had it so many times, but for some reason it just always seems to be a missed opportunity. But I'm just going to leave it at that because there's a few other things I want to say. And one of them is that, to me, and because I don't think I've said this before, I think Dolph Ziggler is one of the most underrated performers of this generation. I think he like, you give him anything, any storyline you give him, any program you give him, he works with it and he pushes it to the best of his abilities. And he's actually pretty, in my opinion, he's one of the best workers of this day and age. And he doesn't even look like he's aging a bit. That's how good he is. Like, he's pushing 40. And he looks like he's probably he can still go another 10 years in this business.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I wanted to say, I don't know if I've got time, I'll just say anyway. NXT.
Mm-hmm.
The thing which I have to say about NXT, which I don't think people seem to point out enough, is that I think the problem with NXT is that it's too much of a comfort zone for some people.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that the minute that people start coming out of it and they start going to the deep end, for a lot of them they just feel like they'll sink. You know what I mean? They don't have that. You know what I mean? They think they're going to fail straight away. The trouble with that is because they're too comfortably treated in NXT. That's what the problem is, which I don't think gets mentioned enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's the reason why some guys prefer to stay there, which is basically, it's understandable, but it's basically like the equivalent of me saying I'd rather stay in primary school.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's a big discussion that we can have next week when we wrap
That's
up with
something
all
I was
the.
going to say.
Yeah, and
So,
that's the big discussion we can have next week after we wrap
yeah,
up Raw, SmackDown, and NXT that
yeah,
happens this week for next week. But I want to say as well, there was a match that I just want to point out. I haven't watched it yet, but I've got a lot of talk from NXT UK, and it was Kaylee Ray versus Piper Niven in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
I've heard about that one. I think they got quite rough, didn't they?
Yeah, and they're very well known, Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray in ICW, for doing the first ever. I think there was thumbtacks and everything in that match. That was.
I'm going to be honest with you, I never really thought much of a Piper, to be honest with you, because to me she was just like another generic, I'm going to break the mold kind of thing.
She's very good.
I know she's good. I'm not saying she's not. I'm not saying she's not good in the ring, but it's just the minute I hear that, it's the same problem I had with Ruby Riott as well at one point.
Mm-hmm.
She came out with the whole. When she came on NXT, I lost interest the minute she started off with the whole. Oh, I'm here to break the mold. I'm gonna be the rebel, and all this. I'm just like, how many times I've heard that one before now? It's become such a generic thing for some people.
Yeah, and I also know the ending of that match because I've seen it everywhere. But I also know what happened. But what I want to say is NXT UK. If anyone's going to beat Kaylee Ray for that title, it has to be Ginny, and it has to be soon.
Ginny, eh? Yeah, I ain't got a problem with her. Yeah, I'm down for it. I haven't watched NXT UK in a while anyway, so I can't really say much about it. But obviously, I do know what's going on I do know to some extent what's going on there.
I would definitely tell you to catch it up because it's absolutely brilliant. I really love it at the moment. But that's the next week. But we're gonna let you guys go. Put in the comments down below what you guys think of the Survivor Series and what you guys thought of it. What you guys liked the most, what you guys didn't like. And then we'll see what you guys think, and then we'll go from there. But we will see you guys next week where we will be talking about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, or anything else that happens over the next week. Any news that happens as well. We will be discussing that as well. So thank you ever so much again for everyone joining us for another episode. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.